Next this evening, the head of one of the region's biggest school academies has called for greater clarity on how next year's exams will be managed. The government yesterday announced that GCSEs and A-levels will go ahead next summer, but students will sit them 3 weeks later than usual.
Steve Taylor, who leads 20 schools in Bristol, North Somerset and South Gloucestershire, welcomes that decision, but wants more detail on what would happen if there's another COVID lockdown. Richard Payne reports.
The return to school has been a long time coming, as has a decision on what to do with next summer's exams. Now pupils know they will sit GCSEs and A-levels, albeit 3 weeks later than previous years.
It's probably better than the uncertainty we had before, but my question is 3 weeks enough, really?
Maybe it would be better to have slightly longer, as obviously with the chance of going into lockdown it's very stressful.
Like many school leaders, Steve Taylor, whose institutions teach 12,000 students in all, has been urging government to make their position clear. He only found out about its decision just before we started filming.
I think the clarity couldn't have come soon enough, so that in itself is welcome. The creation of more time for our students to prepare is also welcome. I think there's a bit more clarity to come, which I would also welcome. The key notion of those contingency plans, of course, we're going to be awaiting those now with a similar level of urgency, because that will steer, what's the practical application of things like mock exams and, the degree to which they are part of the contingency planning. So we'll be very keen to see the outcome of the next 6 weeks discussion, because that will help us to plan even better.
Education Secretary Gavin Williamson has defended the decision not to rely on teacher assessments as happened this year after the scrapping of controversial predicted grades. Exams are the fairest way of judging a student's performance, so they will go ahead underpinned by contingency measures developed in partnership with the sector, he said. Students have experienced considerable disruption, and it's right we give them and their teachers the certainty that exams will go ahead and more time to prepare. And students feel they need all the help they can get if they're to achieve their potential.
I don't have a lot of confidence in the government. They've been changing a lot of stuff recently. They've been going back on themselves, so I'm not very convinced that it will stay like this.
Whether mocks or, as is now intended, the real thing, the hope is that students will, finally, have something worth celebrating at the end of a school year like no other. Richard Payne, ITV News, Bristol.